Hey guys, it's Kaylee. So today I wanted to talk about 13 Reasons Why. I recently saw the series, Netflix original series, and yeah, I had to take a break after it, so I didn't upload this and film this right away. I just feel, I don't know, I'm gonna talk through this, my feelings and my point of view, what I think of this series, and be honest with you guys. For those of you who don't know, I will just give a quick story of what the series is about. 13 Reasons Why is about a girl named Hannah Baker who is in high school and who gets bullied and goes through a lot and eventually kills herself. She makes 13 tapes, and on these tapes she explains why she kills herself and who's partially responsible for it, and she sends them around, giving them to each and every person who is on these tapes, and they have to pass it on after they listen to it. The story follows Clay Jensen, who is also a student who goes to the high school, and he was really involved with Hannah and had feelings for Hannah. So we follow him around as he listens to these tapes, and we see that he really doesn't handle listening to these tapes well, and really finds out about a lot of things that are really horrific. Yeah, where to start? I haven't read the books before I started this season because I knew of this story, but I didn't have the time to actually read it. I wanted to read it, but I didn't. So when Netflix came out with the series, I thought it was perfect because I have a lot more time to watch shows than to read. So I actually watched this series like in 2 days. I binge watched it and it was just over like that. I thought that the series was really well written, and I hear a lot of people complain about that the story is romanticized and suicide is romanticized and all these things. And then I think about it, and I have been dealing with depression and things that Hannah Baker has gone through so closely, and it's not in any way romanticized at all. A lot of people are saying that this show is a bunch of nonsense, because it's not. And I'm really happy that some of the high school students or anyone who's watched this series feel like it's not reality because they haven't lived it. So I'm really happy for those people. But unfortunately, this happens to a lot of people, and I will spoil this in this video. If you haven't watched this series, please then click away, because I will get into the depths of this and say what I feel and think about this whole thing that Hannah went through. If you are sensitive to whatever happens in the show surrounding death, suicide, bullying, depression, anything, then I would highly suggest that you really think about this before you watch this show, because it might be triggering. The show does warn you when the really graphic episodes are about to begin. But still, if you are really sensitive for these things, then I would highly suggest that you might not watch it until you're really ready. I have watched this show, and I must say that I'm really happy that Netflix did this, because this story is not about just Hannah, and of course it's based on someone's life, but the thing is, and that really affects me, is that a lot of people, after they've watched this show, can just pause it or stop it, and they can just take a breath and move on with their lives, and a lot of people can't. And it's really hard because this is happening to so many people in the entire world every single day, and bullying is just not okay. And I already made a video about this, about bullying and abuse, because it's real, and it's making me so sad that someone has to go through this, because I've lived this up close, and it's not funny, and it's real and painful. And just seeing how someone from the start to the finish, how she goes through it and how she feels in it, no one is there to help her or understand her. It's really sad. So I have tissues ready, because this is a really sensitive subject, and I'll try to man up because I feel like it's good to get this off my chest. You know, bullying, everyone goes through bullying sometimes in high school or in primary school or anywhere. Bullies are everywhere, unfortunately, and it's not okay to be bullied or bully someone. And if you see someone, please just stand up for that someone, because being alone in this, it really is crappy, and you might really feel like you're alone. This show really shows how bullying can affect someone's life in a permanent and damaging way. We see that it all starts with Justin, who she has feelings for. She's new to this school and she meets a boy named Justin Foley, I guess. And they meet at this park late at night and they kiss and just fool around, and he takes pictures of her. Not the most flattering pictures. He takes pictures of her underwear where she goes down the slide, and it's really unfortunate. And when he goes to school, he shows it to Bryce and some other jock friends, who then decide to send this photo to the entire school or half the school or something. And that's really where it all begins. People are just really quick at judging people for something based on nothing or something that they interpreted wrong. And that's where bullying really begins. So she gets all these comments and dirty looks from her classmates, and it just spreads around the entire school that she's a slut, and basically gets bullied ever since. She makes other friends like Jessica and Alex, who are really close at the beginning and later on go their separate ways, which is fine, because at first you make a lot of friends, or you try to make a lot of friends, and then throughout the years or time you just get separated and you find the things that you really love or other friends that you clicked and connect more with. So that's totally fine, but they just completely abandon her. And after that she discovers that Alex and Jessica are dating, and she feels really, really left out. A lot of things are just building up, and eventually it becomes too much where she feels like she has no choice. This is really about how a lot of teenagers, and mostly teenage girls, are bullied and get abused and all these things, and it's just horrible, and they feel like eventually there's no way out. And Hannah does try to talk to someone. She tries to talk to Mr. Porter. So he's the dean of the school, and he also tries to be some sort of counselor sort of person, but he really sucks at it. The final episode is really one of the most, or the two last episodes I can really remember, are the most shocking episodes yet, because this is not only a show about bullying, this is also a show about rape. Jessica, her best friend, or her ex-best friend, at some point gets raped by a boy in her class because she's at a party and passed out because she had way too much to drink, and her boyfriend couldn't stand up for her, so he basically let it happen, and she has to go through this trauma of being a rape victim. And it not only happens to Jessica, but it also happens to Hannah later in the show, which is really shocking, because Bryce, who did this to Jessica first and then raped Hannah, says to Clay, not knowing that he's confessing, that he doesn't feel like it's rape when he feels like he could, or wants to have sex, that he could just take it, and he sees women like objects. There are real Bryces in the world, and it's shocking because, you know, how can someone be so monstrous? You know, feeling like you can just ruin someone's life because you feel like doing something. I can't even wrap my brain around this. It's so horrible that what happens to Jessica and Hannah. And I feel like they can talk to anyone. Obviously, it's really hard to tell anyone about what happens to you when you go through something like this. So Hannah, eventually, she at this point is really done with life. She has dealt with so much crap in her life, and she also witnessed the rape of Jessica because she was hiding in a closet because she was drunk at the same party, and all this stuff. And then later on the same night, she or her friend ran over a sign and a stop sign, and that eventually led to the death of Jeff, who was the best friend of Clay. So Hannah witnesses and deals with a lot of crap in her life, and eventually it becomes too much. So she goes to Mr. Porter to ask him for help, and he doesn't help her at all. He is such a character who is so relatable because, teachers in high school, they say they are there for you and you can talk to them, but eventually when it comes to finding a solution or really, really listening, they often fail, and it's really sad because a lot of students need that one talk, where they feel like there is still hope, but they don't get that. Hannah eventually sort of tells Mr. Porter that she has been raped by the student from his school. Mr. Porter gives her two options because Hannah at this point is so done with life and she doesn't really want to talk. She just wants help and she doesn't know how to get it. So Mr. Porter gives her two options. Either she can talk to him and open up, which is really hard for rape victims or victims of abuse or bullying or of any kind, or she can just move on. And that is the thing that Hannah really couldn't handle at that point anymore. She felt like she was entirely alone. She couldn't go to her parents, to kids at school because she had no friends. She couldn't even go to the dean. So she had no one left. She storms out of his office, waits outside, just outside of his window so he can't really see her. She's out of his sight and hopes that Mr. Porter will run after her and stop her and just wants to talk to her, which he doesn't. He just sits in his office and I don't know what he does, but he just lets her go. And that is the point where she thinks, I'm all alone, so I guess nobody cares, and I'll just go kill myself. Which she does. So she goes home, and I don't know where her parents are at this point, but she fills the bathtub and tries to search for some razor blades, which she finds, slips into the bathtub and slits her wrists and bleeds to death in the bathtub. So, oh, Jesus. And this is such a painful death. Slitting your wrist is so painful and so slow, so imagine what she must have gone through, the pain and the time to slowly die alone in the bathtub with no one to rescue her, that's really sad. It's such a good show. It's so real and raw, and that's the thing that really drew me in. That this show doesn't cover up anything. It doesn't romanticize anything. It just tells the truth, how ugly and painful it is. My God, sorry. So yeah, later on, this is and I cried at this scene because you literally see it happen and you see how much pain she has, and not only you see her pain throughout the scenes where she gets bullied and abused and all these things, but seeing her die is it's so rough because this happens every day to so many people and they don't deserve it. So and then the scene follows with her mother asking her a question outside of her bathroom door, and she decides to come in and sees her daughter dead in the bathtub. Oh. And I can relate. Because finding someone like that, your loved one, you don't want to see them, find them dead, especially your family. So her mother lifts her out of the bathtub and hugs her and cries and yells for help. So her father storms up and she asks him to call 911, and she says, and she talks to Hannah, still crying her, saying that it's gonna be okay when it's not. Because I think the mother knows that her daughter is gone, but just it's so real. You can really feel the pain of her mom. And it's so well acted, so I have to give credits to the actress who plays her mom. It's so beautifully done and so real, even when it's not, obviously, because it's a show, but it's so believable. So that is really one of the most intense scenes I've ever seen on TV. I really feel like this show has been made not only for teenagers or kids who go to school or get bullied or abused. This is also really important for parents to see, because there are so many red flags that a lot of people tend to miss in this show. Which also happens in real life, you know. Missing red flags is so important because a kid might be asking for help and you can't even see it. You don't know what someone might be going through, whether it's at school or at home. You don't know what's going on in someone else's life, so why make someone else's life miserable? Kids are so mean. Kids are so mean, and this is so real. The list where Hannah is on with the best butt or something, you know, those lists really exist. I've had lists and I was on them and it was not pretty. Some people are strong enough to just brush it off, but others have gone through so much. Suicide is not the first option that people just grab, and suicide should never be an option. That mostly it should never ever in your entire life at one point should be an option. It sounds really selfish, but think about all the people who you would leave behind. You would stop your life because others tried to ruin it. And the thing is, if you do, you would be dead. But the bullies and everyone else who is responsible for it, they would just live. I always believe that no matter how much crap you go through, there is always light at the end of the tunnel. And that goes for everybody. Whether it's tomorrow or a year from now or 10 years from now. Someday this would all stop, because you wouldn't be in high school forever. This is just a temporary thing, which seems like forever, and I get it because school is a very long time, but you know, it would stop one day. Just be kind and help each other, and if you see that someone is in pain or goes through something, just find help and be there for someone, because you don't know how critical someone's condition might be. Even if it's saying hello to someone via WhatsApp or something, just acknowledging someone's pain or someone's presence can really make a lot of difference. So I'm just gonna end the video here. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one, and I promise it will be a lot happier and with a lot less tears than this one. So thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys, I love you.